let's do this nice and quickly, because there's only one for once.
Isn't it amazing?
It's liberating.
Well, considering the weekend we've got, yeah.
Alright. Speaking for striving for liberty, let's get to
nice.
our only movie here. You don't even have to timestamp this.
I'm not going to.
Okay, so for their sake, I'll get started right away because of that. So when we left off with Catching Fire, the dome had blown up and everything went out, and it was quickly revealed to us that Plutarch Heavensby, who seemed extremely villainy when we met him in Catching Fire, was actually like incognito and is actually like a rebellion leader.
Yeah.
Who's going against President Snow and all of that, and is leading this gigantic big-ass rebellion. That's your main plot here. We go right into that. Peeta is still being held at the Capitol while she and Gale do their thing, and then there's Finnick and all the other characters, but then we also have new characters as well. Beatty's in a wheelchair now. Our main new character is Julianne Moore. Her character name's escaped me. Coyne is her name, I think.
President Coyne of District 13.
Yes. So, but there's no, like, parkour in this or anything. So,
nice.
Now, anyway, the real, like, Hunger Games fans that are watching this video are going, what the fuck does that even mean?
You might want to explain it to them.
No thanks.
Alright.
They can Google it. So, we had a Brick Mansions video on here recently, so...
True.
So anyway, yes, we have Julianne Moore's character and Plutarch Heavensby, who is Philip Seymour Hoffman, who we were talking when we got out of it. We're so happy. Hoffman has a lot of screen time in this.
Oh, he's everywhere in this movie.
Which we were really hoping for, since this is like our big... This is his last completed movie, basically.
Yeah.
So, no, basically about it, really, it is. Now, there is a lot of concern going into this, naturally, because everybody's got to do the trend thing. Every movie's last part has to be in 2 parts now, because Harry Potter. So, that was a little alarming, especially since these movies have been so well handled so far.
Yeah.
Gary Ross's direction of the first one notwithstanding. I was kind of hoping they'd be a little above that, but studios, they're never above that.
No.
So this is what we have. And I was hearing a lot of comparisons to Deathly Hallows Part 1, where it's kind of like, you have your people in there that, you know, really appreciate it, but for the most part, Deathly Hallows Part 1 is basically considered, like, the boring shit before the gigantic finale of the last movie. So I was worried about that being the case. I mean, I don't really feel that way about Deathly Hallows Part 1, but I know it's like a popular thought.
General consensus.
Yeah. I didn't really feel that too much with this one, thankfully. Actually, I'll go ahead and say this now before anything else. This one might be my favorite of the 3 so far.
It's really good.
I do love the way they were able to, my big question because I didn't know shit about the books, and I still don't, so take that for what you will. But, my big question I mean, I never wanted to know because I was going to see the movies as they came out, but my question to the people that I knew that had read the books was always, how exactly does this keep going? Because the first one had a really, really solid ending, so I was thinking, you know, then what in God's name is Catching Fire? And then Catching Fire went the direction it did, and now there's this. And I find it very interesting how this started off as the, I like the fact how if you look, obviously, you know, franchise movies have to do this, but when you look at the books, they're not like it's the Hunger Games and then it's Catching Fire and then it's Mockingjay. It's not like the Hunger Games and then the Hunger Games Catching Fire and the Hunger Games Mockingjay and shit like that, because the Hunger Games itself is getting less and less, you know, I mean, obviously, they're practically non-existent here because the story has progressed so far past that that it's like this big, its own monster now.
The districts versus the capital now.
Yeah, and it's really progressed into this massive thing that goes so far beyond. And when you saw, like, you know, the first movie, the Hunger Games felt like such a massive, you know, concept.
Yeah.
And then it has just progressed so far past that into something even of greater mass. And it's very interesting to watch that play out, and I think this movie really, really builds to that really well. Because it does get, and it's not even like, I think obviously there's gonna be some reviews to complain about, like, pacing. Like you said, you were hearing complaints that nothing happens.
Yeah.
Which is totally not the case. But, no, I think this story really needs that build. Like, this is one where I can actually, I mean, going in, I was thinking, well, you know, I keep hearing, you know, it could be just one movie, just one big movie by itself. Because this is significantly shorter than the other two. This one's only 2 hours.
Yeah.
That's a blessing.
Credits start about an hour 52 in, so that's insane.
But with the way this is going, I do feel like this probably, I mean, I have no idea what's going to happen in the second half, but from the stance as of right now, I could buy this needing 2 separate parts to get where it's going for, like, a whole pacing kind of thing. They're getting progressively more well-made as they go. That's another great thing.
Yeah.
I really love what I mean, it's not like Francis Lawrence isn't exactly the kind of director that really stands. I mean, I thought Water for Elephants is really good. Like,
excellent movie.
Like aesthetically too.
Yeah.
But here he's not really doing. He's probably trying to, like, contrast with whatever the fuck Gary Ross was doing with the shaky cam and the just weird ass shots in random places. You do feel like, even though he's not, you know, being overly directy, he seems to directy. That's a
nice word. I like that. We're gonna use that from now on.
He seems very in control of the movie, which is very comforting coming from the director of a big franchise movie.
Oh yeah.
And because it's not like, you know, it's not like overly directed like Gary Ross is doing, and it's also not like the direction of a Marvel movie that's practically non-existent. There is a sense of control you get from the director's perspective when you watch these movies. The past 2, anyway. So I thought he's a really great choice to kind of give this to. He's like the David Yates of the series.
Nice.
Yeah, that's another thing. I was also worried because even in big franchise movies that I love, like the Potter series, even though this has, like, only half the movies that the Potter series does, I was kind of afraid because I really, really was a big fan of the first one. I like the first one more than Catching Fire, which apparently is unpopular.
Yeah.
But I was kind of sensing, you know, between Catching Fire and this, there was going to be a lull, like there was when like you had Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince one after the other. It's like it was sleepwalking for a while there. But no, thankfully I do not get that vibe from these. So that's it's a relief and it's refreshing. There's a lot of good scenes here, like the really effective emotional scenes, particularly a couple that stand out are actually both are towards the beginning. When Katniss goes back home, if you want to call it that, and she sees the mass grave. That's a really straightforward and kind of brutal scene. I said this before when we reviewed Catching Fire at Country Fire.
What's that movie?
It's probably stars Toby Keith.
Yes.
When I reviewed Catching Fire, I was talking about how much I loved. I always loved the villain character.
Yes.
And President Snow is a fantastic villain, and Donald Sutherland really brings that to light. And there was one. It's not even a Donald Sutherland scene. It's a President Snow scene, all in all.
Yeah.
We know that President Snow is prone to handing out those white roses when he's just being fucking evil.
Yeah.
And there's that really great moment where Katniss goes back into her old house, and everything is, like, completely wrecked and just abandoned and dusty and decrepit and all that. And she goes into the room, and there's this vase of wilted flowers that are just brown and dead and hanging there. And then right in the middle of those is a fresh white rose. And her reaction to it is great too, that fear that she knows that he's been here and he's still lurking around. Now that I've brought that up, let's also talk about the fact that generally when you put well-known, respected actors that are held in prestige in franchise big budget movies like this, they tend to kind of lose their... They kind of set their prestige off to the side and just say, well, I'm in one of these, I'm just going to take this paycheck to the bank and not worry about it.
Yeah.
I was having a debate with somebody recently about the fact that whether or not these movies are what they are because they're a franchise movie and they already had a big, gigantic book following, and how much of an impact Jennifer Lawrence herself has had on that. And I think... Even though these movies would obviously have, you know, a big following as it is, Jennifer Lawrence has most likely added significantly to that. Because she's not just... Well, obviously, you know, everybody just sees her as, like, you know, a role model and stuff like that. But from the perspective of an Oscar-winning actress, she really... That's another great thing these do. Not only for all the other things I mentioned... But they have actual fucking acting in them.
Yes.
Which is really great. Almost.
I know where this is
There
going.
are a couple of exceptions. But for the most part, this movie has real acting in it.
Yes.
Jennifer Lawrence has to really go all in. Not just like emotionally, but physically and just everything. And still kind of adding like a wry sense of humor here and there. As we talk, you know... Do we even need to talk anymore about just how much we fucking love Philip Seymour Hoffman?
No lie.
There's that, and of course, I'd like to see more from Julianne Moore. I hope she does more in the second one. But, obviously she's one of my favorite actresses ever, and she's already gonna have a great year as it is, so, but I do hope we kind of get to see her do... I mean, her character is important for sure, but... I'm hoping we get, you know, more of her and more... That character becomes a bit more later. For now, she's kind of in the territory of, like, you know... I don't want to... It makes this sound bad when I jump to this, but it's the most recent example, so I'll go ahead and say it. Kind of like Meryl Streep in The Giver. Is kind of basically all she is right now. But I'm going to assume she, you know, gets bigger. I've talked about this before in Catching Fire. I think I devoted a lot to this. Just in general, talking about these movies, I've gone into this a lot. I love Elizabeth Banks in these movies so much. I love that character. I love her performance. I love the transformation she goes through. I love every single thing there is to love about Effie Trinket.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting the transformation the character has to make in this one, because her wigs and costumes have been taken away and she is now a broken soul because of it. You can almost... It's still kind of a transformative performance, but you can finally tell she's Elizabeth Banks a little bit.
Yeah.
It was like halfway through the first movie before I even realized it. But no, she's... Even without the wigs and without the costumes, she's still Effie Trinket through and through, and I love her for that. Then there's, you know, some more new faces. We have Natalie Dormer, who is like this... She's part of this, basically, camera crew that has to go around and make these little propaganda videos of Katniss while she's in battle. To screen, to say, you know, oh yeah, the rebellion's on. Fuck yeah, whatever. There's a very funny moment in the movie where they're making that first little promotional video, and it turns out, ironically, that Katniss is a terrible actress. And you have Heavensby kind of coaching her through this. You have one Oscar-winning actor kind of coaching an Oscar-winning actress through this.
Oh, it was awesome.
And it's glorious.
I love when he snaps, too. That was hilarious.
It's not a Philip Seymour Hoffman movie unless he yells in it.
Yes.
You just can't have Philip Seymour Hoffman in a movie unless he yells at least once.
We're the only ones that laughed at that part.
Yeah, I think our audience wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny or not. I don't know. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Naturally, we've got Woody Harrelson in here doing his thing. Much like Effie Trinket, he's really, you know, he very much personifies that character and brings the humor to it and does all that. So God bless Woody Harrelson, as always. Which one of the two should I go into first? I will start... Let's start with the negatives. You know, it's always nice to go negative and then back to positive, because you don't want to end on negative. That's not cool. I also believe, when I talked about Catching Fire, among many other movies from last year, we've talked about my opinion on the acting skills,
or lack
as it
thereof,
were, of Liam Hemsworth. Okay. Well, okay. I'm sure Liam Hemsworth is a pretty nice guy in real life.
Probably.
Let's put that on the table now before I say this, because I'm human and I understand that actors are human as well. So, I'm just gonna put out there, I'm sure Liam Hemsworth is a very nice guy in real life.
This is how we usually start it, folks.
Okay, let's be honest. When I first saw Catching Fire last year, I was under the impression that it was not going to be that good. Catching Fire gave me a really bad vibe at the very start of it, because I was thinking, you know, oh shit, what happened? And it turned out, the reason for that, I learned, was because the first scene is a Gale scene. And I just don't... Okay. Obviously, Gale is not meant to be, like, you know, a real, you know... Not necessarily supposed to be played with absolute and total conviction, because he's more like the... He's more like the tough, you know, brute character to Peeta's more sensitive character. However... there's just such blandness here that I struggle to think of a way to describe it. The only thing I can come up with is I told you that I believe strongly that if you were to go through in post-production and take every single Gale scene and replace Liam Hemsworth's head with a brick with googly eyes glued to it, you'd get the same emotional impact.
Yeah.
And that's
not good for one of your main
just
leads.
Through all three movies here, Gale as a character has not been doing it for me, and that's kind of, when you have like a love triangle going on, that's kind of a you know, tough obstacle to get across when you're trying to really like a movie, which I do. I'm just saying, Gale's presence kind of stops the movie dead pretty much every time he's on screen.
He does have his fans, though. I do know that for a fact. Everybody has their fans.
Yeah. So, you know, Twilight has proven that if it has popular source material and a big fan base, any terrible character and or performance can have a fan base, and a very, very rabid one at that.
Theo James, I'm looking at you, sir.
Yeah. Once again, every time somebody says Theo James' name, I have to stop and think of who he is. He's Divergent, right?
Yeah, that's the trailer we saw today. Well, I saw, because you don't watch trailers, but yeah.
Okay. Before we go on to Hutcherson, Eldon Henson is in this too. Mm-hmm. He's the silent cameraman. Where's he been?
It's been a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a long time, but that was cool seeing him pop up. You Hunger Games fans, you probably were still sperm cells when I last saw Eldon Henson in a movie, so you might have to Google him, but he's been in a lot of cool stuff. You might like Idle Hands. So, he was also like Roger and O, and it was him and Shia that were in the Battle of Shaker Heights. Mm-hmm. All these are really fun movies. So, well, O's not a fun movie. Don't get the wrong idea there. I'm just saying they're all good in their own way. Okay, Hutcherson now.
We're not gonna talk about how Flickerman this time is basically the instigator again in his short screen time. Very, very short screen time.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about Hutcherson.
All right.
Because I believe that I gave Hutcherson some crap in my Catching Fire video.
Yes, you did.
Well, you know what?
He's gotten better.
Yeah, I'm kind of impressed with Hutcherson here.
Yeah.
Especially, it helps that where exactly this character is going, but, yeah, he's finally kind of showing the. Once again, he has to bring real acting to it as well, which, you know, you never really have had to see from him too much. I mean, like, you know, there's Bridge to Terabithia and Little Manhattan and stuff like that. But now that he's older, I've been struggling a little bit with the Hutch. But now, I was kind of hoping to say that with a straight face, but I just couldn't do it.
No chance.
But no, he's actually pretty impressive here, and there's a
Yeah.
lot going on with this character now, and he's getting pretty complex, and it's a pretty impressive performance, given that he hasn't really stuck out to me before now. So yeah, that's a really good. One of them has to be doing their job here, and if it's Hutcherson, okay.
True.
If one of the triangle has to be doing their job instead of both, fine. That's good enough. So, yes. We do leave it... Apparently they leave a lot of stuff open for the second one.
A lot.
Um,
That will make a lot of fans really upset.
Well, as a person who's never read the books and didn't really know what to expect going in, I like this little sliver by itself works nicely.
Yeah,
There's plenty of, like, you know, really intense scenes and action scenes in here for the people that are going to tell you that nothing happens. That's not the case at all. So yeah, I feel pretty firmly that this is my favorite one so far of the three, so it'll be very, very interesting to see what the last one brings.
It's got a lot to live up to.
Yes, but I trust our actors and I trust Francis Lawrence more so than our screenwriters, but, you know. As beloved as it is, Catching Fire has a really, really shoddy script. And Simon Beaufoy wrote it, which is saying something. The writers on this were... The one I recognize was Danny Strong, the guy that wrote The Butler. But, no, I thought this one was solid in the script department as well, more so than Catching Fire was. That probably helped, too. So, yes, I guess we'll see what the last one brings. And I feel confident in it.
What's your star rating for it?
3.
Okay, that's fair. I buy that. It was a great final send-off to Philip Seymour Hoffman on the big screen that actually would go to every theater.
Hopefully he still gets a fair amount in the last one. I have no idea exactly.
I don't know either, honestly.
I heard he had, like, what was it, a week or two of shooting to go? I don't know. But I hear they got, like, they're not going to do CGI. Apparently they got, like, an actual physical double. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I'm very curious to see what happens next year.
And he does get the dedication before the credits.
That was awesome.
Okay, I think that wraps us up.
So that's what we've got. Yeah, seriously, just one movie this week. Gotta love that. So tomorrow, Gaming with Ash returns, and Sunday we're going to have a brand new Versus, which also plays into something that tragically happened recently. So we're going to be talking about that. And enjoy the rest of the week here on Pop, and we are going to go to Birdman and Whiplash tomorrow, and it's going to be glorious. So, AJ, any parting words?
That's it.